Hello and welcome to the Creabea Knitting Podcast. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a knitter, knitting pattern designer. I'm based in Edinburgh, and this is a vlog or podcast all about what I'm knitting, what I'm currently working on, what I've been working on, and what I'd like to cast on in the not too distant future. And I am back after quite a number of weeks with just a regular, plain old boring podcast episode, and I'm so looking forward to it. I just feel so out of whack that I'm working on so many things, but they're all secret for the book, and so I can't really tell you about them. But I miss sitting down and sharing what's going on. So I've not done an episode in a little while, and I've got a little stack of finished objects. I've got a couple of new whips, and I've got some yarn recommendations, and in general just like a little chat and a little bit of spending some time together. So I am looking forward to today. Let me start with, I've got a project I'm working on. It is a top secret book project. But I thought I'd get some rows in. I'm just doing some plain stockinette right now. And this is the yarn I want to recommend today because I'm so enjoying it. But we'll get to that later on, I guess. And what do I have today? Okay, let's start with a pattern release, which is quite exciting. I have a pattern release today. It is a release for the Lynx pattern. This is an all over, well, not really all over, this is an Argyle pattern, and it comes in a whole variety of formats. So first and foremost, let me say that you can use the code LYNKS, LINKS 10 on my website or on Ravelry for 10% off until Sunday at midnight. And let me tell you about the pattern. I'm wearing one, but I realised it's lovely to show you this, but all the fun is happening underneath the curtain, like below here. And I could put this a little bit further back, but the lighting's not great in here, so maybe I should put on a sample that I can show you the colours of. There we go, that's a little bit better. At least now you can kind of get a picture of what I'm talking about instead of me just wearing what looks like a plain cardigan. So this is the Lanark Sweater. The Lynx has 3 options. I was thinking a lot about, because I feel like this is probably the pattern where I put like the most amount of variation, like the options are the most varied. And I've decided that if they have the same construction, so like construction, gauge and stitch pattern are like my 3 components. And if 2 of the 3 are the same, then maybe it'll be the same pattern. So if they've got the same stitch pattern and the same gauge, then I'll make it the same one, even if I've got different construction. That's what I was thinking. And so this one has a sweater, a cardigan and a vest. And I'm currently wearing the sweater. The sweater was the very first one I finished, and I'm going to put pictures of it here. We took some beautiful photos. I think this is the most incredibly fun colour combination I've ever worked. It's this like mulberry rich burgundy purple and this fun really sky blue. My very first sample of this was the purple with a green, and that was also beautiful, but I think that the blue has really sold me. I think it's so nice, and I love wearing this. I feel very cool in this. I wore it out last night to go to a class and then to go to the pub for a little bit, and I just felt really like chic and comfy, but like still very put together, which is the goal, I think, all the time. So I made the sweater first, and I started as a raglan, but I didn't like the way the raglan was looking at the raglan. I don't like the way the actual raglan was looking with the stitch pattern on it, and I didn't think it would work well across like multiple sizes in the same way. So I made this version. Now the sweater does require colourwork flat, which really intimidated me, but I made my Kintra scarf at the end of last year, which was colourwork flat, so I was kind of ready, like primed and ready to go with this one. And I've discovered the reason why I like the colourwork flat in this is that you always work 2 rows the same. So the way the stitch pattern is that it's like a 2 row, I don't know, was it 16 rows maybe? Can't remember, I'm going 16, maybe 30 rows. And each, like, it's 2 the same, and then 2 the same, and then 2 the same, and then 2 the same. And what makes that really nice about working colourwork flat is that on the knit across, you work like colourwork like you always would, you're just following the chart. On the way back, it's hard to see your stitches because of all the floats, but you just have to copy what you just did. So you just like, the purples are purple and the blues are blues, and then you change and repeat on the next one, which makes it for really quite straightforward flat colourwork. And then you join in the round, there's some underarm shaping, join in the round, and then there's another motif all the way down here. The picture will be more helpful. And then there's a motif on the sleeves as well. So I really enjoyed this one, but I also felt like colourwork flat could be a bit intimidating, and not everyone wants to knit colourwork flat. So like I thought, well, how can I take this motif that I really love, and I've put some work into and made work and add it to something else. And so I made a cardigan, and that's a cardigan I was wearing at the start. So here is my cardigan. I finished this just before we took pictures, like literally, I think was I sewing buttons on in the morning? Maybe it was the day before. It was a relatively close call. So here's the cardigan version. The cardigan is steeked, so you work in the round, you work a steek in the middle, then you cut up the middle. What's quite nice about it though is that the steek only starts down here at the colourwork, all the way down at the colourwork. So everything's worked flat. Everything's worked, yeah, flat until there, and then you work the steek, and it has got a little set-in sleeve, which I like, which makes for like a very clean look. I love this version. This is, so both of these are in Sandnesgarn Tin Pure Gint and Mohair. Sandnesgarn is just my like knock out of the park yarn. I'm so loving it right now. The colours are so good and I really enjoy working with it. This was the, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's a colourway which has like blue, brown and black tweedy flecks, and that is what this is. And then just a regular white mohair, and then the colourwork colour is just the black. I think it's really striking. And I was quite nervous knitting this up. I was knitting it thinking like, oh, this looks really, it's very, very high contrast, which I'm really not used to. And I basically never knit with black yarn, so it kind of threw me off, but finishing it, I'm very happy. I bought brown yarn as well. I thought I'll either pull out the blue, the brown fleck or the black fleck, and I'm glad I went with the black because I just think it really is just really fun. And there's a round neck, and then of course, because like, who am I if I'm not just throwing the kitchen sink at a pattern? There's also a v-neck version. So there's a v-neck version and there's also a vest. The vest and the cardigan are the same, except that with the vest you add ribs, cuffs around the armhole, and with the cardigan you add sleeves. So it's a very easy like switch up to add one or the other. And I also, again, I just wanted it to be like I wanted it to be as accessible as possible. So if people don't want to work colour flat, they don't have to. If people don't want to steek, they don't have to. So there's also like an addendum, which is just like 2 pages at the end of the pattern for the cardigan and the vest, on how to work it as like a complete garment. So as you can see here, there's no steek. I just worked this in the round, and I just wore it in the round. So technically you could make a set-in sleeve sweater, and you could not have, you know, it makes a lot of sense to me, the vest, but you could also just do the cardigan, but like not make it cardigan, make it a sweater. That just felt like I was going in a rabbit hole with options, so I just stuck with the vest. So yes, sweater, cardigan, vest. Cardigan and vest can be round neck or v-neck, and can be steeked or can be worked as a complete in the round. Can be non-steeked. I really struggled with the wording for how to say that. I was like, can be worked without buttons, but then like, does that suggest? I don't know what that suggests. This version I use Filcolana, Arvetta and Mohair. That is a superwash yarn, so I would not recommend using a superwash yarn for the steeking, and I've not listed it in the pattern because I don't want somebody to then pick that yarn and then be like, oh, that's fine, that's the recommended yarn. Like, I've listed what the sample is, but I wouldn't recommend it as a recommended yarn if you're planning to steek. But it is beautiful. It's the colour Red Squirrel, which is just so bright, and I've been wearing this with like a white t-shirt and black jeans and feeling very cool. And I think this is one of the happiest like sets of samples I've been in. Like, I'm so happy with all 3 of them. Of course there's one that I'm less happy with, which is my very first cardigan, and I made it too big, but that's on me. I need to decide if I'm keeping it or not. It's a little too big for me. Well, it's not too big for me, it fits fine. The problem I'm having is that the sleeve, the shoulder doesn't quite sit on the shoulder, so with a set-in sleeve it really should sit here, and it's probably sitting about here. Now it still looks, I think if you're not a knitter who knows that it's a, you know, if you just saw it on somebody, I don't think you'd stop and be like, oh, that doesn't fit right. But it doesn't fit the way the pattern should fit me. And so I'm a bit unsure about it. And we took pictures the other day, and there were 3 of us. There was myself, there was Audrey, who's now been in lots of photos, and there was Casey, who is brand new to taking photos. It was his first time. And Audrey had not done the test knit, but generally wears the same size of sweater as I do, and so came along and wore some of the samples, and the cardigan fits Audrey really well. So there's a possibility Audrey's getting the cardigan, but I've not decided yet. I'm not committed. Audrey also tried this on. I'm wearing this with a lot of ease. I'm wearing this with the absolutely maximum recommended ease. I think it looks really fun and cool, but it's definitely more oversized than I would usually go for, and the reason for that is that I've lost quite a lot of weight recently. it's purposeful and I'm fine with it, and like that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't need to go into my health online, but like I've been purposely trying to lose some weight. I have lost some weight, and as a result I'm a smaller size than I was when I first made this pattern. And it just means that I was really worried about, I was like, oh, I don't even know if I can wear it for the photos, like I might only have Audrey wearing it, but I measured it and checked it, and I am bang on the maximum recommended ease for the pattern. But I think it looks really nice in the pictures, and I am not someone who, like, normally I like maybe, I don't know, 12 to 16 centimetres of positive ease is like for like an oversized look, and this is more like 24 centimetres of positive ease, and I really like it, and it's very cozy. So for me, this is one where I would, if I was to, I think I will make another sample in this, and I will make a smaller one, but I am happy with the ease on this, and I will continue to wear it, and I'm still planning to lose a bit more weight, and so in that scenario I will continue to wear it even if it's more than the recommended ease. But in the pictures, and I've added how much ease I'm wearing it with, and I've also got pictures of Audrey who's wearing it with a little bit less ease if you're curious to see. So that's the Lynx. I am amazed that I didn't get sick of this colour work. That is my number one takeaway. I knit this a lot of times. I knit this motif, if I think about the motif being like one of these, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the other cardigan, and then 7, 8 on the back, 9, 10, 11 repeats of this motif, and I still really like it. So I'll take a little bit of time off, and then I think I'll come back to making myself another sweater. I'm thinking maybe grey and white, but I don't really know. I'd have to think about it properly. And there was a really nice tester version in like pink and red that I liked, but I think I want to go maybe a bit more classic. So who knows? Who knows? But I really enjoyed this one. It's called Lynx because the Lynx is the name of a beachy golf course in Scotland. I don't think Lynx is used necessarily, like, I don't know if it is used, I know nothing about golf, let's make that clear. I very, very, like, nothing about golf. But I know that, like, there are lots of areas around Scotland that are referred to as the Lynx, and, like, traditionally that was, like, a golf coursing area, and, like, sometimes they're no longer golf courses, but they're still called the Lynx. So yes, that is the Lynx pattern. I'm really happy with it. I'm really, really happy with it. It's been really fun to see this one come to fruition, and this was a very, like, driven by creativity one, and pushed myself a little bit. It's my first ever self-published steek, first flat colour work project, and it's just nice to be able to like continue. I feel like I'm growing as a knitter, and it's fun to be able to see that also like reflecting some of my patterns. I'm really happy. So there we go, that is that. And I've got one more finished object. However, I'm realising I sat down and did not put my fill battery in, so I'm going to change that and then come back and tell you about my other finished object. But spoiler alert, I did. Okay, let's talk about my other finished object. So 2 weeks ago, it has been a very busy February, far too busy actually. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I was very glad to see the end of February, let's say. I released a pattern update in the middle of February, and I was very surprised because the pattern update did just about as well. I mean, it did better than some pattern launches do in terms of sale numbers, which I just wasn't expecting it. And that is the Lanark. So the Lanark pattern released 3 years ago in March of 2023. It was one of my early, my third, did Corin come out first? I don't think so. I think it was my third ever pattern, which is kind of nuts. And over the years it's had a couple of revisions. I think like I wrote it, I think that my pattern writing skill has improved. Like I think I was a competent enough knitter and designer at the time to make the pattern, but I think I've gotten better at writing patterns since then. And so over the last 3 years, it's had, I think, 2 updates. One, like I had a very helpful knitter who had knit it and was like, here are all the things I think could have been clearer. And I just took them all on board and fixed the pattern with that. And like then it got videos added. I added videos to it because it is a slightly more complex. It's half fisherman's rib. It's worked. There's some shaping. It's got a zipper. There's some things in it people haven't like done before. And I love that pattern. It's probably one of my favourite patterns I've ever designed, and the one that I just want to keep knitting all the time. And so when I released Inch earlier this year, that is a set-in sleeve saddle shoulder pattern, and it came with half fisherman's rib, stockinette, and a mask in femme fit. And honestly, it was literally like a shower thought where I was like, if I'm doing this with this pattern, then like Lanark should get the same because it's also half fisherman's rib. Why can't I also add a stockinette version and a mask in femme fit? And so that is the release, like the update that came out 2 weeks ago. So you might already know this because possibly you've already purchased the pattern and you got hopefully a nice message from me saying, hi, here's an update. But if you did not get that message, sorry, there's something in my eye. I think it's gone. You might not have got that if you didn't bounce the imagine you would have seen that, but I feel like right now I am good at posting things on Instagram and I've got a newsletter going out, but I still feel like sometimes I just let YouTube fall behind, particularly because I'm not podcasting as often. So I thought I'd mention it anyway and show you my sample, which I did not knit myself because I had this one sample knit. So I like to have a couple of samples of everything. However, I currently am also working on 18 patterns for the book. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a book of patterns coming out later this year. I will talk a bit more about it later because I feel like it's consuming my whole life in good and bad ways. But it just means my needles are very busy and that's like quite a tight deadline. So I've been knitting my first sample myself, and then generally, although none of my Lynx, I knit all my Lynx myself, but my Lanark I had sample knit, and this is what I got back. Now the sample knitter that knit this has at this point knit me 2.5 Lanarks. Is that right? I thought the third one. 2.5. They knit I've got a beige one, like a ribbed beige version, and I had a navy blue striped version, which I really struggled. I used Briggs & Little Regal, and I struggled with the yarn on my hands, but I'd knit the yoke and the body and I knew I would never finish it. So I messaged her and said, hey, this is like a very rogue request, but how do you feel about knitting me half a Lanark? Which she very kindly did. And then she knit me a stockinette version, and I promised her there won't be any more. No more Lanarks for her. But this is the stockinette version. It is so much fun. I really, really love it. It is exactly the same as the Lanark. So like it fits the same way, the construction is the same way. It uses technically the same yarn, but the gauge is different in stockinette than it is in Half Fisherman's Rib. And it's faster. Half Fisherman's Rib is beautiful. It's probably my favourite stitch pattern, but it is a labour of love. Every one row is like 2 rows, you know, so it really does take a lot of work. And so a nice stockinette version just flies by comparison. So it's still got this like chunky collar. Then you work the back with some short rows, you pick up the front and you work some like, I was going to say clever, that sounds really, but they are quite clever short rows. You do these fun short rows that like shape that neckline. So you work back and forward across the front neck here. And then it's finished with this facing, which, oh, I've got a thread I've not snipped, but that's all right. You can't really notice it anyway. There's a facing on the inside, so the zip is completely like wedged in this little envelope behind my face, which I think is really clean. And it also means when it like sits open at your neck, you just see knitting, you don't see zipper tape, which is one of my pet peeves in zip up knits. And the thing I love about this is that sewing the zip is so easy, and I don't think you can see where it is. This is where it turns out the camera picks all up, but like, provided you use a matching yarn, I really don't think you see, sorry, a matching thread, I really don't think you see it. I can see here I've got some threads sticking up that I've just not trimmed, but that's fine. When I first opened this, I ordered the yarn online and sent it straight to the sample knitter, and I really thought from the online pictures that it was grey. And I think even from back here, it looks kind of like a charcoal grey, and charcoal grey was what I was going for. And I opened it right here in front of this big window, and it is actually like it's like blue and yellow. It's called, I believe, Stormy Seas. And I was at the first second, I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then within like 3 seconds, I was like, I am obsessed with this. It looks so beautiful. It's Cascade 220. One of my faves. And it's really lovely. And one of the great things is that often sample knitters do really great finishing touches, like sewn bind offs, which I never do. So it feels like a real luxury. And yeah, it's a semi-matching tape. It's a dark grey, zipper tape. It's a dark grey zipper with like a brass edging. And I just think it looks so clean and so crispy. And I've been wearing it quite a lot. And what's really fun is that we went back to the same place I took the Lanark pictures, and we took pictures for this, but it was literally just like me and Sam in the middle of the afternoon on a work break at the beach with all these kids who just got out of school. And we've got a puppy, we took the puppy, and we were quite stressed. But the pictures turned out very lovely, and it was funny just to go back to the same place where we took the original ones 3 years ago. I'm getting a very rare, you can see how rare it is because it's showing you exactly how pale I am. It's a bit of an overcast day today, but the sun keeps peeking through, so I keep getting like little speckles of sun on my face. I'm not changing or moving anything with the lighting because it will disappear as quickly as it arrived. And so that is that. So if you have already purchased the Lanark, you knew about this, you already have the Lanark update, it's in your inbox. And just so you know, oh, and there's also now mask fitting. So even in the original Lanark, I made my brother a sample, he modelled the pictures. But now it's got like, so it's always fairly unisex, like fairly genderless. But now it's like expressly got 2 versions. So it has half fisherman's rib, femme, stockinette, femme, and they are graded against the standard women's sizing chart. And then there's half fisherman's rib, mask, stockinette, mask, which are graded against the classic standard men's sizing chart. And I think I'll do a few more of those this year. I think there'll be a stick season mask update. And I'm not sure if there's any other requests, let me know. I'm like, it's just a step to make patterns more inclusive, right? So it's something that I'm happy to keep doing. It has to kind of be a pattern that's not already huge. So things like the Tolsta, I'd struggle because there are already so many documents with Tolsta that I don't want to, to duplicate them all would be a lot of extra effort. Not even effort, just would make for a lot of extra documents in the listing. I think there are already like 6 or 7. But yes, so 6 seasons on my list. I think that's probably the next one, and hopefully that'll be sometime later this year. And so that was my since I last saw you, that's what's basically been occupying my needles. In terms of occupying my brain, it has absolutely been book knits. My deadline for book knits is the end of April. We are taking photos, I think, the last week of April, which is very exciting. I've got the CEO of Align magazine, Jonna. She's coming to Scotland, and we're taking some pictures. And I'm very excited about it, and also mildly stressed because that is the deadline by which I need to get my samples done. I do at this point have all the garments. I've got all the garments on my needles, but I've changed my mind about one, and one I'm reworking. So technically one that's already been finished and test knit will not be in the final book, I don't think. But that's okay, it's an easy update. I've got 1 second sample that I'd like to knit myself, and then I've got my, what's the word? Forgot the word. Accessories to do. So there are 2 pairs of socks. What do I start to do? I have to finish a shawl. I've got 2 pairs of socks in it. I've got a hat and 2 scarves. There was going to be a cowl, but I've changed my mind. And that has to be on the end of April. So we're getting there, but it does mean that I feel like I'm kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I was trying this week to film some of my behind the scene thoughts on the book, because I think it would be nice to be able to honestly talk about that at some point. And my 2 big conclusions are, 1, this has challenged me creatively more than I expected it to, and in a way that I'm enjoying so much more than I thought I would. I'm really, really enjoying it, and I really think it's making me think about things very differently to the way I normally design, and thinking a bit more like it being a collection, like a set of patterns. And as a result, like, I want the person who knit, like a person who, I don't want this to be a situation where somebody's like, oh, I like this one pattern in the book, but like I don't like the whole book. My hope is that, I used a phrase the other day where I was saying, like, if 100 people got shown the book, I'd want that like every of the 100, like there was a fairly diverse spread of who had a favourite, because I want every pattern to be like favourite worthy, you know. And that's been really fun to do, and it has meant that I've changed plans, so the final patterns are relatively different to what the original submission was. Some of them are exactly the same, and generally they've kept the same like structure, so like sweaters say sweaters, vests say vests, but the execution has definitely changed, which has been really fun. The other side of that though is that it's a bit relentless, and I am looking forward to being able to cast on without abandon and not be so stressed out at deadlines, and just have a bit more freedom to like cast on exactly what I want. I've been trying to keep a rule where throughout the entire book process I've had at least 1 pattern on my needles that has not been a book pattern, but I currently have 2. And so I have 2 works in progress to share with you today. I'm upstairs in our bedroom with both of the dogs, who are currently sleeping, and the big dog has just decided that he wants to get up and shake himself around, and there's a slight concern that in doing so he's going to wake Puppy up. So I'm hoping he's going to settle down again and not wake up anyone, so that we can keep going. So I've got 2 works in progress, which is fun. 2 works in progress I can talk to you about. One is a summer knit in this pouch, and one is a summer knit in this pouch, and one is a wintry knit in this pouch. And the wintry one is, I'm in no rush to finish it, but I just had to cast it on. Like, I just had to get the idea on, you know when people say like, I have to get it on paper? I have to get it on needles. Like, I have to get it into creation for me to feel like, okay, now I can breathe. So let's talk about the summer one first, because it's probably more exciting, and there's not really much to show of either of these, but there's a little bit to show. I am using a very fun colour. This is cobalt blue. This is cobalt blue. She says, like, people don't know what colour it is. This is Filcolana Pernilla. It is a sport weight yarn, and I'm working on a ribbed t-shirt. I put this in my bag last night to go to. So I go to a fiddle class on Thursdays. I've been going since September. It's been really, really interesting. Actually, really good. I'm still rubbish, but it takes many years to get good at an instrument. So there we go. And it was raining, and so everything in this pouch is a little damp, but I hadn't really realised till right now. Filcolana Pernilla, sport weight yarn. It's light for me. I don't usually work at anything below DK, which sounds so snobby, but is in fact very, very true. I saw a video of someone wearing a ready-to-wear t-shirt that looked like a knitted t-shirt that had ribbing, and I needed it in my life. I was like, I need that t-shirt. I need to own that t-shirt right now. And so I've cast it on, and I am this far, which is not very far at all. It is pretty slow going. It's a 24 stitch gauge, so nothing's really happening very quickly, and unfortunately everything else has got a deadline for this week, so this one has been completely deprioritised. But it has been like my handbag knitting, not that I go anywhere. I took it out last night and did not knit a single stitch, but it has been going places with me because it's just very portable at the moment. I think you can see the ribbing. Yeah, you can see it. It will neaten up a lot with blocking. My ribbing flat particularly is not very neat. So it's like a chunky bit of rib and then like a little bit of ribbing in the middle. And this is my current favourite construction, which I currently have a pattern in testing that is not ribbed, just a plain version, which is a simultaneous set-in sleeve. And it's ultimately where you work a little sliver of the back, you work a little sliver of the fronts, and then you join them all up. So right now I'm at the neckline shaping, but it means that, okay, how do I show this off? You can see that I've got four markers. In between those markers are my sleeve caps, like right up here at the top. And so I'm gonna work out, and it works a little bit like a raglan. So you're increasing the sleeves inside those markers. And then eventually I'll add an extra set of markers and I'll have a raglan, and it'll increase like a raglan, which is really fun. And it means that you get the fit of a set-in sleeve, but the knitting process of a raglan, which, let's be honest, okay, maybe not all of us, but I do think there are a large number of us, myself included, who really just love an in the round, carefree knitting pattern, and that is what I love, and that's exactly what this will be. I'm close, oh, actually not that close, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, 18. I thought I had to go until I had 27 stitches, but that doesn't work because that's an odd number. I think I'm around about 10 rows away from joining in the round. And then at that point onwards, I'll just be in the round, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And hopefully I need to get myself on some kind of like schedule, like a 30 minutes a day routine with this, so that I can actually stay on top of it. It's the sort of project that will be hard to catch up on if I fall behind. And my goal is that this is the next path I'm going to testing in 4 weeks' time. So I need to have more, 4 weeks, more than that, 5 weeks. I need to have more than this. Yes. I'll panic. It's okay. I'm reminding myself today that I just design knitting patterns. I don't have that much responsibility. No one really cares if I don't release a pattern. And so I need to stop stressing myself out so much with my deadlines. There are some that are real. Like the book is an important deadline to me. It's an important project that I care a lot about. That is an important deadline. But ultimately, the rest of it is my own made up schedule that I'm making my own life harder by being stressed about it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'm currently using this to house 2 projects because I couldn't find another bag, and I feel like my head has been so fried. I go to fiddle class. I went to fiddle class last night, and when I tell you, nothing was staying in my brain. We were trying to learn a little tune. We're learning a little tune called John Ryan's Polka. I think it's called John Ryan's Polka. Is my phone nearby? Because I've got a little recording of it, but I don't know where my phone is, or I played a little recording. And it's got 2 parts, as in many traditional music tunes have got. It's an A part and a B part. We'd learn the A part, and by the end of learning the A part, I'd forgotten the A part, and then we moved to the B part, and then I'd somehow get to the end of the A part, the B part. I was like, let's play it all, and I was like, it's gone. It's literally not my brain. I feel like a sponge that is already full. And so my brain is really just, there's just no space for anything at the moment. And finding a project bag was one of the things which I had no space for. So this is my top secret project, which I'm currently showing you. It's a garment. This is how far I am so far. It's for the book. I'm clearly halfway through a row and I've just pulled stitches off. I'm like, why is this here? Yep, I'm halfway through a row, Rebecca, well done. I need to, and I've just thrown a stitch marker on the floor. Why do I do this to myself? I need to work out what, I think I had a stitch marker right here, or maybe like a little bag of stitch markers. It's not it. I was hoping that my mess would help me out there. Yeah, it did. That like I've got stitch markers sitting right here that I've not put away. And that is the case. So I'm just going to put this back on and I'll find another one somewhere. And Sam knows that if he finds a stitch marker, he just like puts it up on a, I don't know, the closest shelf or table or unit, and I will collect it from there. Oh, that's a dot stitch. I don't even know where this stitch was. This is really entertaining content right now, me slowly losing my marbles whilst filming it and telling you all that I'm slowly losing my marbles. I will edit this part out, or I should. It's not very interesting. There we go. Yes, my concern with this is that I need to work out how big a hood should be. Which is why it's not gone any further than it currently is. Anyway, that's irrelevant. I'm not talking about this project. I am talking about this project, which I have got even less to show you than anything else. Oh, this is pathetic. This is how much I have to show you. How sad is that? I also think I might change the yarn I'm using. I think it might be a little bit too firm. But is it just a block? I did wash and block it. It's nice washed and blocked. Is that the same yarn or is that's a different yarn? Aha. Yeah, it's nice washed and blocked. Anyway. Okay, this is a yarn I was going to use in the book and I changed my mind. It is called a Blasta. It is by someone called Stolen Stitches, who is an Irish yarn dyer, and this is spun by Studio Donegal, and it is a 60-40 blend, although I can't remember which one is 60 and which one is 40. 60-40 blend of New Zealand wool and Irish wool, which is quite cool. And you may recognise this. I have got two needles, one here, and stitches in the middle, and that is because I worked a Judy's Magic cast on. I really think this yarn is not about yarn. Anyway, and I would really want to make a zip up cardigan. It is going to be okay, so I made the Lanark zipper, and then there's a book pattern with a quarter zip as well. And I'm just living my best zipper life. I just really love zippers. I love zippers. They're just so good and they're so clean, and they make such a crispy finished piece that feel so put together. And so I was trying for like, I think honestly 3 months to placate myself by making a Pinterest board with like concepts around it and like colours and but last weekend I just hit, like, I was like, no, I need to cast this on, like I need all my needles right now. And so I cast on for my neckline. It is going to be a raglan, and it is going to have a couple of neckline options. It's going to have like a big dramatic neckline, it's going to have just a regular neckline, and I think it's going to have a fun kind of like bomber jacket where like the front is low and like it goes up, you know, like it feels very sporty. And I'm excited, but it's not going to come out until like September or October or something, so I'm in no rush to do it, but I needed to get out my needles, so I started last week. The yarn is lovely, but I'm thinking, having come back to it, that it's maybe a little bit too rustic. It's quite stiff, if that makes sense. There's not a whole lot of drape to it. The swatch is really nice though, and I do think it would make, I feel like a zipper like that is going to always, this is the tiniest swatch, eh? It is going to make for a good like outer garment, and I don't want too much drape because I do think it works well with a zipper to have some structure. I made my Lanark, it's right here, the one I just showed you, and that's the Cascade. I made a version of Knitting for Olive pure silk, pure merino. Knitting for Olive merino and held with mohair, and it is a much drapier fabric, and so the collar really just like lies flat across my shoulders, whereas this one the collar really stands because of the drape on it. And so I think this is probably closer to what this one is, which is quite nice. I will power on. I obviously stole the needle from this at some point, so I should go back and find, maybe this is it. Anyway, I'm going to work the collar, and then I'm going to make some slow progress on this. I feel like there's other things that are on there that had to happen, but I just needed to, like, it's like speaking it into creation. I had to commit to saying I'm going to make a zippered cardigan. It's going to happen, and I'm going to mark my intention of doing that by casting on 5 rows. That's okay. So yes, my last thing I want to recommend is a yarn recommend. Oh, I have a yarn recommendation. That's not my knitting to show you, by the way. I have in the last month finished so many things, but I can't tell you anything because they're all in the book. And they're bubbling up. I want to tell you about all of them, but I can't tell you about them. I can soon-ish. I realised that the time from now until the book release is the gestation period of a human baby. It's 9 months away. It's like 38.5 weeks. And I was like, wow. People grow entire babies in the time it's going to take for this book to exist. Anyway, so my yarn recommendation is a new to me yarn, and it is Sandnesgarn Atlas. Now I did not really get the hype. I think I saw Petite Knit has got some colours in it, so I think I must have seen it on Instagram, and I was like, cool, it's another Sandnesgarn yarn, like no big deal. And then I was looking for something that, like, I wanted rustic but softer, and I wanted it to kind of feel a little fluffy, but not like too fluffy. And I don't know where this idea of using this came in, but did I order? I'm not even sure I ordered. I was torn between using this and using Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino, and I was leaning more towards Knitting for Olive before it arrived, and then it arrived and I swatched it and I blocked it, and I was like, ugh. So I'm going to show you this, and I'm not showing you any details because that would defy me keeping the book secret, but I'm working on this right now. It has stripes. It has more fun stuff going on, but right now you can show you the stripes, and it is a dream. Now I'm working this on 18, I think it's 18 stitches in 24 rows, and it's really nice. It's one of the yarns in which, I've talked about this before, but the combination of the yarn and metal needles feels nice. Like it's a really enjoyable, it's a very like tactile experience in a very nice way. I want to order more, and I have no reason to order more. I think I might make a second sample with the test knit because the yoke has some really interesting shaping. It's got a lot of short row shaping to make it work, and I think it could benefit myself and the testers to do that together. Like, it might be good to make sure that I am doing it with the testers, so I possibly might order a second set of colours to make this in, and then just like not worry about finishing the yoke, finishing the body of the sleeve anytime soon. But I want to order it because I want more of this yarn because I'm really enjoying the process. The way I think they've designed it is it's meant to be like an alternative to Peer Gynt, which I'm also a Peer Gynt lover, but Peer Gynt is it's fairly rustic. Like, it is a more rustic yarn. This to me is a little closer to like a cascade. Yeah, I've got the cascade right here. Post blocking, it's like a cascade, I think. I can't remember the blend. I think it's a merino and Norwegian wool blend. Really lovely, and I think at this point Sandnesgarn are just knocking it out of the park for me in terms of the yarn they keep producing. I just love so many of the yarns and I can't help myself. And so that is where my question is. So my recommendation is Sandnesgarn Atlas. It's definitely more of like an Aran, like an Aran weight, like an 18 stitch gauge 18 stitch gauge yarn. However, I'm really enjoying it and I would recommend. It's got some really fun colours as well. Not loads of colours. Depending on where you shop from, I buy mine from knit.co.uk, and they have it separated into Petite Knit special colours and the regular colours. But I think the regular colours are the ones that I enjoy the most and the ones that I've been knitting on the most. And what was the last thing I was going to say? Oh, and so I'm looking for a yarn recommendation because I have this week changed my mind about book passing. It was going to be a cowl. It's now going to be a scarf. I think that's a little bit more flexible. I think it's going to be a fancy yarn, like a yarn that feels a little bit bougie. Now I think there will be two. There will be one that's got... I don't know where I got to because the dog started barking, and I thought that the dog barking was going to be post arriving for me because I realised I got one more fun thing to share about, which I completely forgot about, so I will talk about that in 1 second. But my yarn request is I'm looking for like a fancy yarn, like something we use to just make a little shawl, but I don't want it to be hand-dyed. Everything in the book is commercial. I don't want it to be crazy spenny. I think I will use Cardigan cashmere for one of the samples, which is more expensive, but like I would like an alternative to Cardigan cashmere, which is not quite as expensive, but it still feels like, or it could be equally as expensive, but feels like a luxury fibre. Now I keep going to Sandnesgarn cashmere, but I can't, there are already 2 Sandnesgarn patterns. I can't use a third. That would then be, I don't even know. There is an equal, there's a number, 1 in 6? Yes. That would be a 1 in 6 patterns in the book. Yeah, 3 in 18 are Sandnesgarn, and that is a bit too much. I'm trying to show variety. So I'm curious if you have any recommendations for like a little fancy yarn in some really nice fun colours that is a bit of a Cardigan cashmere equivalent to use for a scarflet, a small scarf. Let me know. I feel like I've been doing a lot of scouring this week and I've not really landed on something I'm really happy with other than Sandnesgarn cashmere, and I don't want to use Sandnesgarn again, so help me out. So my last update before a little personal update is that I forgot to say that I've got a pattern that came out in 52 weeks of sweaters, and the reason I forgot about it and then remembered is that they forgot to post my copy to me, and I wasn't really sure. They said that like we might keep some samples back for promotion, so like you might not get it back straight away. And I know that my pattern was one of the more popular ones in the book, not the most popular. That was an incredible flower pattern raglan, but it was definitely a popular one. And I thought, well, maybe they're keeping it back for a little bit, but I didn't get my sample, and I saw some other designers get their sample back, so I thought I'm just gonna email them. And they were like, oh, you should have gotten it back, like it just hasn't left our warehouse. And that was maybe yesterday, and then I got an email this morning saying that my copy was out for delivery. So I don't have my 52 weeks of sweaters yet, but I should be getting it today, which is fun. And possibly my sample is coming back with it. Apparently the package weighs 4.4 pounds. What is that, like 2 kilos? Bang on, pretty much bang on, but that could just be a translation from bang on 2 kilos. I don't think the book is 2 kilos. So that could be the book and my sample. I don't know, but it'd be nice to have that sample back because I miss it. And I love it. And I want it back so I can wear it. So that could be fun. Unfortunately the door going was not that, but just a heads up that if you are, yeah, I'll put a link of it down below. My pattern is called Chain. It is a raglan with half a shirt rib detail at the underarm of the sleeve. It's relatively simple, but like fun little touches, and it's in this beautiful bright red yarn. It is Mota by Wool Dreamers, which I did not particularly enjoy knitting with, but I really like the finished product. And I'm already thinking that if I read that pattern, I'm using Sandnesgarn Atlas. I think Sandnesgarn should sponsor me at this point because I love their yarn so much. They don't. I just pay for it all. Just keep paying for it all. I think Tane, the pattern in the book, will be re-released as a standalone pattern in September. I can re-release it 5 months after it came out. It came out February 19th, so it could be released as early as July, but it is a winter pattern, so I think I'll be releasing it as a standalone in September, and I'll knit another sample, and I'll be knitting it in, oh, I just thought about this, but I'll be knitting it in Sandnesgarn Atlas, which I'm excited about because I like that yarn. So there we go, that's a fun thing. And then, yeah, personal update. I think I've made it quite clear that my brain is not really functioning at full power. I feel like I'm definitely back on track, but I had a really rough February. I really struggled in February. I feel like I was at capacity, like everything was full, and then unfortunately at the start of February my grandmother passed away, and she was 93, and so it was by no means entirely unexpected, and even if it's not entirely unexpected, like grief is still rubbish, and so I should feel really crappy about things. I know, so it wasn't very nice. Her funeral was at the end of February, and so it was like a whole kind of month of it didn't happen very quickly, so it was quite a long time until the funeral happened, and that was just a really sad day, and it was it really threw me off. That was only last Monday. It was the Monday before, I can't really remember, but it was in the last couple of weeks. And like, you just know the whole week before, like, I'm just gonna be really sad on Monday. And so on Sunday I was like, I'm gonna be really sad tomorrow, and then on Monday I was really sad, and then on Tuesday I was like, I'm still sad. And it just came at a time where I also just had like my plate was just really full, and it's really full because of myself. Like, I've been saying yes to everything and I'm trying to get a lot done, and I wasn't prepared for how much I would be wiped out by like sadness. So that was sad, and I found it really rough, but I'm definitely feeling better. I had a bit of an awareness that like I wasn't really looking after myself, and that was one of the reasons it hit me so hard, is just like I wasn't really like getting outside very much, and like I don't really drink very much, and I eat pretty healthy, so for them, you know, there wasn't a huge amount of that. But I don't know, I have switched my afternoon Pepsi Max to Pepsi Max caffeine free. Make sure I'm getting a bit of sleep at night, and I have started this week, today will be my third couch to 5k run, which is really just a case of I need to get outside more, and it's a 30-minute jog along the path near where I live. It was a bit of a wake-up call that I just have to be a bit, I can't let myself get to where something like that will set me off so harshly, but also like I can be gentle with myself, and like grief is grief, and you're allowed to be sad about things. I have one very sweet story at the back of it though, which is that I got a collection of things, not really very many things. I got a few things from my grandparents. My grandfather passed away 7 years ago, and there were a few bits in the house, like there was a watercolour my grandmother painted that I've now got, and they were the sailors, so like that's where a lot of the book passes are really inspired by them, which is really lovely. And my grandmother knew about the book, so it was nice to be able to talk to her about it just like 2 weeks before she died. And I got a few things, like we got a picture of one of their boats, and I got the watercolour, and I've got all of their book logs, so like all of their sailing trips that date back I think to like 72. I need to go through them all. I've not really done, I've sort of skimmed read a few but not read them all, and it documents all of their trips. They're all bar one are handwritten, so they're hard to read because they're all in like cursive, but I will at some point get them all typed up and share them with the rest of my family. But one of the things I got back was a sweater that I had knit for my grandmother a few years ago, and I got it back and it's really bobbled. And I just thought that was really sweet, because that just meant she really wore it a lot and that she really liked it. And I don't think it's something I would particularly wear. It is a bright pink ranunculus, but yeah, it had like lots of bobbling on it, and like little bits where I really need to debubble and a little bit of care, and I was like, this is fine, because this just means that she really wore this sweater. So I got that ranunculus back, which is very nice to have, but also made me a little bit sad. And he said this at the funeral. They made this comment along the lines of like people people stay alive so long as like the ripples of them continue. And all I could think of at that minute was that I named my first ever knitting pattern after her. So that Cargill was her maiden name, and my very first pattern was called Cargill. And everyone that knits, no one that knits a pattern will necessarily knit a pattern and think I knit this, you know, this is named after someone's grandmother. Like that's not what people get. But at the same time, it felt like when they talked about that ripple, like she'll last as long as the ripple of her will. And I was like, well, that's everyone that's knit the Cargill. Like everyone that pattern exists for has a little bit. So that was how, I don't know, I got a little bit of like comfort from knitting on that day, which was really nice. Still a sad day, but mostly really nice. And yeah, I feel like I'm wrangling back a little bit of control over everything. I do feel like I felt like I got my test notes. I just feel like I was a bit useless for a couple of days, and I made people, like, I wasn't particularly helpful for a little bit, and I had to kind of be like, okay, how do I get back to making this all helpful for people? And that was the downside. Like, that is the downside of being self-employed. There are so many great things about it, right? Like, you've got all the flexibility, and you can set your own pace, and you can set your own work, and you get to reap all of your own rewards. The downside is that, you know, you don't really get compassionate leave, or like you can, but the pressure's still there and all those things. So anyway, February was rough. All I have to say, February was a rough month. Found it hard. Was very grateful to see March 1st coming along last Sunday, and I really woke up thinking like, yeah, but I'm glad it's March. Like, bring on March. And so far it's been a pretty good week. It's definitely I'm still feeling very overwhelmed, but in a manageable way, and I'm still finding things I'm really enjoying. And like, yeah, I've got brunch with friends this week, and I went to my fiddle class last night, and I'm working on projects I really like, and like there are a lot of really good things happening, even if it was like last month was a bit rough. So yes, that is everything for me. I really thought like there's no way I'm gonna have much to say today, because I'm just not like, I don't have that much to talk about, and yet here I am. It's probably still gonna be this part of an hour. So thanks for spending some time with me. I've managed to get, not very much, like 6 rows knit, which I really thought I'd get more done given that I've just been yapping, but there we go. I'm gonna go have another coffee. I'm gonna have a little square of chocolate. I'm gonna edit this video and get everything ready for the pattern launch this afternoon. I will speak to you soon. I have no idea when or what I'll talk about, but I'll be back. And until then, happy knitting.